teaching entrepreneur skills in the Bay Area for over 20 years. And I just shut the business down last December because I wanted to concentrate on doing more speaking. And my real passion, how many of you actually are working your passion? Nice. All right, so very few people in this country realize that when you actually work the thing that you're passionate about, it's not work, is it? When you're having to work because you have to have an income and you dread every Monday morning, do you know there's more heart attacks that happen on a Monday morning than 6.5 days of the week combined? Isn't that insane? People would rather let their heart attack them than go to work. That doesn't make any sense, does it? So what you need to do is look at today. If you're not working your passion, figure out what you can do to start implementing the things that you're passionate about. In 1998, I was speaking at an event and I could not get a single person to laugh. Now that made me very uncomfortable. At the end of the event, I asked the organizer what was different because I had been speaking there every year for 5 years straight. And he said, I should have told you the audience was all ex-convicts today. Oh, what? Do you think I would have done something a little different? I'm talking about chambers, I'm talking about being part of Rotary and Lions and Kiwanis, and these people are thinking, this is a really scary world out here. How am I going to survive? The whole way from San Jose to Walnut Creek, I'm driving and I'm thinking, if I was them in the audience, and there were 2,000 people applying for every job, did you know that that was back in '98? Today it's over 3,000 people applying for a single job. What are the chances an ex-convict is actually going to get a job? Absolutely zero. So what do they have to resort to? Doing another crime. So we've created a system that actually keeps people in the system. So I came up with a concept. In fact, I was telling you earlier, I make this available in every prison, and it's also available for Dave Mason's program back in Washington, D.C., where he is retraining veterans when they come back from the war to actually find a business that they can start rather than find a job that they can't get. So that program is actually called Just Over Broke Syndrome, JOBS. But what I do is I match the personality. You have kind of an analytical side of your personality, don't you? Very logical. Now, I know this because I read faces. I can look at anyone's face. I can tell how fast to talk, how slow to talk. I can tell whether you're analytical, whether you're amiable, whether I need to look at things that are positive, whether you like things even keel, or whether you like your days to be exciting. It's all in your face. And I teach people how to take that skill and come up with 50% more business in 6 months. Using that one thing only, not working any harder than you're working today. In fact, you'd end up working a lot less hard if you knew how to use the skills. How many of you have actually gone through a training program in the last year to improve your business skills? That's very good, about 25% of you. If people realize that you can become more competitive just by improving your skills, wouldn't you do this consistently? I go to at least 4 trainings outside of the Bay Area by experts, people who are actually out there in the world doing something that I admire. I think it's really important. So the average person in the United States reads 1 book a year. Scary, huh? If you were to take books and get them on tape, on CDs, and listen while you're driving, and you listen to only 1 book a month, you would be 12 times more prepared than any of your competition. Isn't that simple? So what I did is I took the concept of Just Over Broke, that is actually to help people figure out what they can do instead of a job, and I converted this into Be Your Own Boss, which is an entrepreneur training. And what I do is I look at the skills you're born with, your innate skills. the skills that you have learned throughout your life, combine that with your personality, and now you can come up with a business that you can start that will never seem like work. It'll seem like this is something you would do on the weekend. It would be something that you would just love to do anyway. And it's so amazing how easy this is. How many of you have a business plan? How many of you looked at the business plan in the last week? Okay. Now, I know that most people write a business plan because they want funding. Is that right? Well, a business plan is your guide. And I heard this over the weekend. I went to see Jane Fonda in San Francisco. And she was talking about, I'll have to paraphrase it because I don't remember the exact words. So a business plan is to be your guide. But just like Columbus, yesterday was Columbus Day, right? Without a business plan, it's like going somewhere you have no idea where you're going. When you get there, you don't know where you are. And when you go back, you can't tell anybody where you've been. Right? That's running a business without a business plan. So I came up with this program. It's called the Pocket Business Plan. Everything that you need to do on a weekly basis, your vision statement, what makes you unique. All of you have to know what your unique selling proposition is, your USP. If you don't know what makes you stand out among the crowd, you have no idea how to tell people why they should be working with you and not your competition. And you can talk about the competition without mentioning the competition. When I had my business organization, I used to say, we meet at 9 o'clock in the morning. Because all of the other business development groups, the leads groups, you've heard of them, they meet at 7:15 in the morning, which meant I had to get up at 5 a.m. to get there. And that's a tough thing to do on a regular basis. You have to know how many sales calls you have to make to get a client, and what is that client worth to you. I had a young woman who, years ago, remember the laser cartridge replenishing companies that started up? She was going to do this business. She had 3 kids under 10, and she was bound and determined she was going to contribute to the household financial need. And when I said you have to analyze what's going on in your business, I was an efficiency expert for the state of California university systems in 1977. That was a tough job. We were in a moratorium for all universities, and I figured out how to get them profitable. So I looked at her business, and she was $3,000 a month in the hole. And she'd been doing that for 6 months. I told her about a concept that I had created called Power Partners. Power Partners are your strategic alliances. They're already working with your clients, but for a different reason. For a business attorney, it would be a CPA, it would be a business banker. For somebody who's in landscape, it might be somebody who's in construction, a house painter, even a realtor, right? Because they would know. So if you create a relationship, and I'd like to challenge all of you, if you meet 4 Power Partners every week, between now and the end of the year, I promise you, if you cultivate those relationships by January, you're going to end up with 50% of your business referred to you next year. Now, what would it be like if you started every month with at least 50% more business? If you knew that all of your overhead was covered before you ever opened the doors. See, that's the position that you need to be in. There's always more than enough business, but you have to know where to find it. And you have to be very clear on what you want. So if you don't know what your client looks like, how many employees do they have, what is the base of their business, if you can't define, like when I talk to some people and I'll say, who are your clients? And they'll say, oh, everyone. Well, that doesn't help anybody think, oh, I know. If you say, I love to work with realtors. And then how many people know a realtor? Everybody, right? So when you're very specific about what you're looking for, now you can end up being able to focus, have everybody else focus on how they can help you. And what I found, and this is really interesting to me, it took a long time. I had a travel agency during the Gulf War in '91. That was like one of the worst decisions I ever made. So I can tell you every mistake that you can make because I've made them. But I also figured out how to rectify the mistakes, which is where I get the meat of my knowledge. Is I figured out I had a travel agency that was doing $30,000 a month, and I decided I could buy it and turn it around. That was April. By December, I was doing $90,000 a month. The Gulf War started in January of '91, and my business went back down to 30. That was fun. And for about 12 months, I was putting $5,000 a month out of my pocket into the business to keep it afloat, just to support my employees, who would call in sick because the bird wasn't well. I mean, having employees, how many of you actually have employees? Yeah, see, I'll never do that again. That was a tough one for me. So what I learned was by going out into the community, I built that travel agency to $185,000 a month in sales. And one day this man called me and he said he wanted to buy it. It was his 7 days later. I walked so fast. And that's the kind of thing you have to realize. If you're looking forward to going to work, there's always somebody out there with their energy. They can turn a business around. You know, let them have it. Go do something you really love. So this was my first book. How many of you have ever, how many of you